with COVID, because there's a news story, and I indicated at the opening that there's an indication that the media's tone has changed a little bit. I think we even mentioned that yesterday. What's going on in here? Why is this tone changing? So we want to talk a little bit about that. And the first item I want to mention comes from Julie Stenhuisen. She writes for Chicago Reuters, and she talks about LA County. And we've seen numbers like this, and because in various places this is what's turning up. But this one's pretty startling. I mean, excitingly too, because it comes from Reuters, and the claim is in this article that 25% of the infections in Los Angeles County residents occur with fully vaccinated individuals. So, boy, yeah, we talk about this, Daniel, at risk. They'll say, see, we know we need a third shot. That's what they'll turn it into. But eventually that won't work. And I think we're at that point where the people aren't buying into this. There's growing resistance. And it was great that there was a football stadium empty, or getting to be empty, where people just refused to go to a National Football League game because they had to show passports and things like that. But I think that the overblown handling of the coronavirus will come to an end, but not without some suffering, because though we look at what's going around the world, I don't at least sit here worrying that the invasion's coming. China is going to land troops in California. No, I don't say that. But there's something, the attack on our liberties is the reason it is said that we go around the world to protect our Constitution and protect our liberties. And I never understood that, because it has nothing to do with it. So whether it's a war against the virus or a war against Al Qaeda and the Taliban, it's a threat against our liberties, but it is not to defend our Constitution, because a constitutionalist and a good, strong pro-American foreign policy would be that we'd stay out of these entanglements like the founders advised. But nevertheless, we're seeing this, and I was glad to see this article, just to make the point that there's a failure out there. Just having another, and even today we might be able to mention this one article that says that there's going to be every 6 months you have to get a booster, and they're going to do it to the military very soon. And the military is not too happy about it. So they're going in the opposite direction. Yeah, you're right, it's not working. Therefore, we have to give more shots, and pretty soon they'll probably say, well, maybe we have a new vaccine will do better.
Yeah, well, the Reuters report is very important, because it's the thing that we've been talking about for several days now, which is that even the mainstream media is noticing that there's a real problem with the vaccines, and there's a real problem with the approach that the U.S. government and its agencies, the CDC, for example, has taken in fighting the COVID virus. And we're seeing this over and over in the mainstream. And as we mentioned yesterday, Zero Hedge pulled out some segments of our show to point out the mainstream media is paying attention. But the article you mentioned is from Los Angeles County, as you say, and they found that some 25% of people that are getting infected from COVID are fully vaccinated. That means both shots. And we would say to that number, that is probably, we don't have the facts, but probably severely underreported, because as we know, CDC guidance has been do not report breakthrough infections unless they require hospitalizations. Whether LA County followed that guidance or not is a question, but I think it's safe to assume that that is a very severe underreporting. And when you think about what the CDC, with Fauci, and what the so-called experts said at the time, which is if you get these shots, you will not get COVID, full stop. And that is obviously undermined. And then they said, well, there could be some very rare cases of breakthrough. And now we're seeing, even if you take their numbers, hey, 1 in 4 is a breakthrough. What are you going to do about it? So that's a big problem, and it undermines the entire narrative. And I think that's why we're seeing Dr. Paul, and we've talked about this for the last few days. We're seeing all of a sudden some attention, including by Fauci himself, paid to early treatments of infections rather than, hey, get a vax or you're going to get a vent, which is what they've been saying all along. This is a huge shift. It's very important, and we have to pay very, very close attention to it, I think.
Daniel, I want to reiterate what you just said, because what Fauci is saying is what so often has been said by the doctors who have been friendly, who are a much more market approach and quite frankly, a scientific approach. And so with him changing that tune, you don't know how it happens, but we can't pretend we know exactly why he shifts, because he's shifting his gears all the time. And as excited as I was about this the other day when we heard about this, I said, yes, I'm excited. I'm glad he's admitting this, but we better wait a day or two. But right now, it looks like he hasn't jumped on changing his tune. Zero Hedge have been very friendly with us and sympathetic to the positions we've taken. And there was a headline that I don't usually go it this way, and somebody might say we're bragging. I don't like braggarts, but it says their headlines: even mainstream media is now asking big questions about COVID vaccines, and they have an article and they mention our website and our program. So I think that's very nice for them to do that, but very good that they're allies. And there's a lot of good information that we get from Zero Hedge, and something to keep us up to date, because it's always changing, it's there, and it's a real challenge to sort it out. The efforts to practice good medicine, to be.
Well, I'll stop it here. That's just from the Ron Paul Liberty report, August 26th. You can watch the whole thing. You can find it on YouTube. I watch it quite a bit. Okay, thank you.